Hi everyone, this is Mathilda and I'm going to show you how to center and throw a pot on the wheel. Take a bat and put it down either on your pancake that you've already centered. I'm assuming you have bat pins. Start with a lump of clay which is as much of a sphere, as much of a ball shape as you can. That makes it easier later on. Find the center. Make sure your clay is well stuck. I've seen them go flying across the room. Get it going about a medium speed. And dip your hands up to your wrists in the water, whatever's comfortable temperature for you. And then I'm going to brace my elbows and have my lower body very well rooted with my feet planted firmly on the floor, or if you're sitting down, planted firmly on the stool or the chair. Brace my arms against me and press down and in towards the axis of the spin, the hub of the wheel where nothing's moving. Using your body weight with your back straight, just sort of push down gently and gathering in with the sides of your hands so that the clay won't go out towards the sides. It's going to want to go flat if you push down too hard. It's going to want to fly out to the sides if you push down too hard and don't corral it around the sides. So pay attention to what it's doing so you can correct it. It takes a little while to learn how to center, but keep practicing. Make sure you're braced against either the splash pan or your ribs or against your legs. If you feel it friction or if you feel it heating up, just dip your hands in the water again. See how there's a little bit less of a wiggle? You can also separate the down push and the side push into two separate motions. We can, what I call karate chop it up, where I grab it sort of at the rear of the wheel and the front of the wheel. I have this arm sort of twisted in towards my belly. And I squeeze in and bring up. Then I make a butterfly shape with my hands, and I use this section here. Not really straight up top, not really straight from the side, but sort of at a 45, making sure I don't cave in that little dimple. I push it back down, and it's a little bit like finding your balance on a bicycle. You're going to lean one way, it'll push back another, and after a bit of trial and error, eventually you'll get it centered. You'll know when it's centered, when it doesn't appear to be moving, when it doesn't have a shimmy. I'll show you what I mean. If it's not centered, there we go. There we go. Well, that's more of a shimmy. It's more like a twerk. So if it's twerking, it's not centered, okay? So we go back in, and we just do either our one motion, nice and anchored, pushing down and corralling in, or we can separate that into that two motion, karate chop up, butterfly down. And I've even seen some people corral with just one hand and sort of make like a blade with the other hand. Oh, here we go. Sort of the same butterfly, but so whatever works, as long as your clay doesn't start to twerk. So here we go. Now it does not appear to be moving. And you notice when I put my hands in and I put my hands out of the clay, I do it slowly, because if you do it quickly, you will startle the clay and it will actually move off of center. So now that we've got it centered, we open it up to make it into a piece of pottery. I just gently sort of have my hands resting on it just so I know where I am. And I put one of my thumbs right in the middle, in the axis, where nothing's moving. And I breathe and slowly sink my thumb in, making sure if I have any friction, I go get a little more water. Sink in, but not all the way down because otherwise you'll have a hole in the bottom and it'll be a dribble cup. After I create that crater, I get both of my thumbs in there, and what's going to happen inside is I'm going to curl those thumbs towards each other, creating a flat plane. If you want a nice flat plane, you have to draw that imaginary plane with your thumbs. If you start drawing this way or that way, that's the shape you'll get. So, get my thumbs in there, create that flat plane. I can smooth it a little bit with my other finger. Now, remember, this is sort of like a record on a record player. Now that I've got this resembling a piece of pottery, it's got floor and walls. Now that it's resembling a piece of pottery, I'm going to slow my wheel down a little bit. And now, instead of working all around that ball, all around that sphere, I'm going to define my little slice of the pie. That little slice of the pie goes from your navel, if you're sitting down, your navel to your knee. And whenever you're touching it, pretty much from now on, you're going to be moving from the outside of that slice to the inside and then back out. Just like the needle on a record player, you're going to go in and then back out. You're not going to chase the record around. You're not going to be over here or over here or over here. Because my center of my body is here, and if I were sitting down, my knee would be here. This right here is my little slice. So I stay in that slice. So what I do is what's called a pull. I like to start my first pull by grabbing the crust of that slice, putting a nicely loaded up with water sponge right on top of that grab like a roof, pinch in a little bit, and draw an imaginary line up and in. And the clay follows with it, and I maintain that distance. If you waver, your wall of your pot will waver. If you pinch in a little bit, pull up in a equal distance, you'll have nice even walls. So now it's a little bit taller. I'm going to drizzle a little bit of water on it so I don't get stuck. Slow my wheel down a little bit more, and now I'm going to do a different kind of pull. I'm still in that quadrant between navel and knee, and I'm going to start with my inside hand and my outside hand being touched, married in some way. It doesn't really matter how. And I'm going to find where the wall is at the bottom. I'm going to pinch in a little bit until it's thinner, and then I'm going to lift that clay up, and then I'm going to gently release, just like this. It's called a pull. You can see that there's little lines developing in the clay. If your lines are too far apart, you're moving up too quickly. So I just do about 2 or 3 of those. Ultimately, you don't want to have to do more than 2 or 3 pulls to make a, coffee mug shaped object. Pinch in a little bit. If I feel a thinner spot, I glide over it without squeezing. I only squeeze when I encounter the rough spots. If you want to clean it up a little bit, now you can. I use a nice 90-degree angle rib. I go to that crust of that pie quadrant, and I just hold it. I'm holding it like that. I hold it against the pot, pressing from the inside, and I can travel up with it and smooth the whole thing. We make sure that we always mop up the water. If you leave a lake, you will get cracks. So we get rid of our lake. And now let's just check and see how we did here. I'll take my cutting wire, I press it down with my fingers, I draw it through once. But just for fun, let's see how equal in thickness my walls are. Let's see how I did. All right, pretty good. See, we've got about the same thickness as the bottom as the walls, a little more thickness on the lip. You want that, doesn't chip. And right here leaves a little bit of room for an undercut foot. And what you're looking for is you want to avoid thin spots, like if you had a spot like that, that wouldn't be good. And you want to avoid thick spots, like if you had a spot that was that thick and the rest was really thin. So yeah, what you're aiming for is a nice equal thickness with your throwing lines pretty much evenly spaced. Alright, well, I'm glad I didn't mess that one up. I hope it was helpful, and good luck. Keep going, keep trying. I ruined so many pots before I got to the point where I was making ones I was happy with, so keep making pots, you're doing fine. Alright, get the clay off my hands, and goodbye.